Okay, so I think because there's just us three, I'm not going to do an actual clock. If you want me to do a clock so you see how much time it was as you're going, I'm happy to do that. Like I could do a timer for you, but I'm not going to time this because we're not on a limit. When I have more people in here, I do the clock for people so that they can be seeing it as they're talking. Because anybody who is a podcaster, host, guest speaker can just keep going. And when I didn't do that the first time, some people went like 5, 6 minutes. And so we're like, we want to make sure everybody has time, but it's also good to think about how long is 3 minutes as I'm saying this. So, okay, well, I will do mine and then we will go to each of you. So, sorry, my allergies are a mess today. Hi, everybody. I'm Julie Marty-Pearson. I am a podcaster, speaker, coach, and advocate. And my focus is on helping women to own their voice, share their story, and grow their confidence through podcasting. And that can happen in a lot of different ways, but I focus on helping women who have businesses or side hustles to become awesome podcast guests, to launch their own shows, or grow existing shows. And I'm all about community. I have created two communities, the first of which is the Women's Podcaster Party networking community, where I offer free networking events every month to support women and non binary people who are in podcasting or want to be. And I also have a community membership where I offer monthly workshops, events, and other exciting things. And that is just the variety of ways that I support people. But as a podcast guest, I really love breaking down and helping people think about podcasting in a specific way, which is podcasting continues to grow. It's not going anywhere. And if you have a business, you should be tapping into it in some way. But that doesn't mean everyone needs a podcast. So I help my clients, would help your listeners to think about why podcasting and what is the right fit for them and their business. Is it being a guest? Is it starting a show? Is it doing both? So my topics are strategic podcast guesting, how to find the right shows to guest on, how to start a podcast without spending a lot of money or spending a lot of time, but doing it in a way that you can be consistent in ongoing, and also helping people who have podcasts to think about different ways to grow their show or grow their influence. I will give your audience specific action items they can take after listening to the episode so that they can become a guest, start a show, or actually go and grow their show the next day. So I would love to be your guest if any of that sounds like something you are looking for your podcast. I also love to talk about pets. I have a podcast all about advocating for animal rescue and adoption. So it also is something I love to speak on. I'm something I am very passionate about. Please, I will drop my link or give you my website, juliemartypearson.com. You can find all the things there and send me a message, and I would love to be considered to be a guest on your show. And scene.
So good.
That was a little all over the place a couple times. My mind wandered, but there you go. So again, it's kind of for me, it's become part like, what do I say in a networking event online, but also part of like, how do I explain how I actually help people? And then I could talk about it in that way on your show.
So can we do to try it out?
Absolutely.
Does it have to be recorded? I mean, like,
if you don't want me to record it, I'll pause the recording.
Oh, I mean, I don't mind.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, either way.
Okay, I'll just let it go, and then if you decide you don't want it, I will send it to you.
I mean,
or
mine
if you
is
want
not
to,
gonna
if you
be-
want to do, if you each want to do it, and then feel like, okay, now I want to do it again, we have plenty of time to do that. So, Rachel, do you want to go first?
I can go first.
Okay.
Because otherwise I'll overthink it.
Yep.
Okay, but I gotta put this over here so that
it can be in front of you.
Yeah, so sorry covering you guys up. All right. Do I say when?
No, just you could start any point you're ready.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Davila with Extra Hands Virtual Assistants. I'm a virtual assistant implementation strategist and productivity coach, and I support overwhelmed entrepreneurs looking to find, hire, and work with virtual assistants to clarify their needs, make a plan, and take action to find the right fit. I can talk about why fit is important and whether your business is ready for a VA and if you're ready for a VA. And I can talk about what the steps might look like when you're first hiring support. Um, your audience can take away that fit over cost is important and that you can find the right fit for any budget. I do this a number of ways. I offer a Do I Need a VA quiz where you can determine where you're at in the VA journey. At the end of this 7-question quiz, you'll know if you're ready, almost ready, or not ready, and what steps you can take to move on to the next level. If you do better reading, I have a book, Hey, Do I Need a VA? A how-to guide to find, hire, and work with a VA. I also, for those who like to listen to information, we have a podcast called Hey, Do I Need a VA? Found on all major platforms. But if you're a hands-on type and you need that personalized touch, I offer coaching and talk it through sessions. You can find me at extrahandsva.com, or I will put the link for my link tree with all the links in the show notes. Thanks so much. I would love to be a guest on your podcast.
Yay. That was good. And I also love that all your things are the same name, so it's very easy. And you're like, people are gonna know, hey, do I need a VA? Because you said it, 3 or 4 times. So that's good.
3 times I put VA in my pitch.
It's okay. We all kind of do that. I say podcast probably a lot too.
It's all of your stuff.
So how did that feel for you?
Clunky, but I think because like I was talking to you, but I wasn't seeing you, so my mind was like,
Oh,
"You're reading, stop reading," but I couldn't. I was like, if I don't, I won't know what to say.
yeah. We were just talking about this yesterday in my class for my group program, and we were looking at Descript because you can do a teleprompter, like so if you want an outline in front of you or something. And it said the hard part is you don't want to do that when you're interviewing someone because you want to really be talking to them. So it's like you have to, I was telling them because they're all getting ready to launch. It's like you have to get used to it. You have to figure out what works for you when you're recording solo versus with someone because it's all about like you've got to figure out you don't have to do it a certain way because we all do it differently. Some people want a whole script in front of them, some people don't want anything in front of them, they just want to talk. So yeah, I understand what you're saying, but that was great. I think that
It
you did a
matters.
good job.
Thank you. There's 4 of us. And so when we had our first guest, I asked all the questions just because I like had all the questions. And then they were like, my co-hosts were like, okay, but you can't ask all the questions. We're just sitting there looking like idiots. And I was like, okay. So, but they're like, but tell us what questions to ask.
To ask.
And so I would outline the questions, but then they were asking them exactly as I wrote them. I'm like, guys, personality here. Like, take it and make it your own. Like,
Right.
have to be like it stilted the flow of the conversation. So now I'm like, here are the ideas we want to touch on, not specific
Right.
questions. Then it's working a lot better.
Well, and I think that's an important thing to talk about. And it was something somebody brought up in the networking events last month when I was asking what topics do you want us to cover here? And it's like interviewing skills. Like, not, I was in my education's in psychology. I took a whole class on small group dynamics, interview skills, focus group skills, all of that. So it's literally just like me riding a bike to do that. But other people have no idea what that feels like, how to do it, how to adjust. And like you said, some people think, well, I'm going to have these questions and I'm going to ask them every time. It's like, no, that's not what you want. You want it to be conversational and not sound like you're just reading a script and asking them the same question. So, yeah, for some people, it just takes time to adjust and get to see what feels right. Okay, Amy, are you ready? Ready or not?
Sure. Ready or not, here
And
I
this is
come.
practice. We don't have to do anything with this recording other than just know that we did it and we practiced. So,
No, this is a good exercise. This is a good exercise. All right. Hello, friends. My name is Amy Stone, and I am the creator of a show called The Art of Imperfect Adulting. What I do there on the show is I talk to other adults about the choices and decisions that they've made in their life and the impact that those decisions have on the future path. Like, so we're looking back and we're talking about the choices. And it's been a lot of fun. I most often am in the position to be interviewing this past year. So, but I do also love to be guests on other people's shows. The impetus of creating the show that I did was that I noticed that a lot of the conversations about very specific life transitions actually boiled down to a sort of similar path of action no matter what we were doing. And so that's the reason I talk to people about any topic they want, but what are the choices you made and what are the decisions you made and how did you do it? So when I guest on other people's show, I tend to talk about that kind of thing. So I often talk about family dynamics because I have a family, I am in a family. I talk about perfectionism, overwhelm, burnout, moving through hard situations in life and how you take action. One of the things that makes me great to have on a show is that I tend to bring a little bit of humor and charm into the conversation. And so, very complicated, intense topics, but with a calming, fun attitude. And people tell me, because I'm not the judge of this, other people are, people tell me that they enjoy it and they feel empowered after the conversation. So those are the things that I bring to a guesting situation. I'd love to be a guest on your show if that sounds like it's a good fit. You can always find everything about me at imperfectadulting.com. And actually, my main site that's all about me, Amy, is amysaysso.com.
yay, that was good. I liked that. I lost the word, but I liked how you, first of all, I liked how you say people tell me. That was a good thing. I like that. And there was something else you said. Now I lost it. Shoot. I can't. But I like the way you frame it.
Yeah, no, it does need a little bit of work. This is like because the show that I'm doing is so broad that I bounce between like, divorce, career, move, all of these things that it's like I need to actually sit down and think about what are the things that I actually want to talk about. So like, and I couldn't figure out how to put it in there, but one of the things I do want to talk to people about is the visibility piece, like having the courage to step into a public space
Right.
and speak in public and why and why that's helpful and important. Because but that's like it's like I have to figure that out how to talk about that
Right.
because it's what I'm actually doing. It's as not the really the focus of my show.
Right. Well, and also that's kind of why I do my little kind of tagline, own their voice, share their story, and grow their confidence, because that is a
Right.
big part of it for us, as women in this world of entrepreneur and online and whatever it is. Before you guest, before you podcast or anything, you're like, well, does anyone even care about what I have to say? Or how would I say it? Or what should I say? And so sometimes people are just trying to figure out, like, what is that? And
Yeah.
actually have a guy in my program right now. I do say I work with women, but of course I can work with men too. And one of the things he said is, he realizes he talks in a certain way and he doesn't always emote emotion in the way he talks. So it's been really hard for him to listen to his own stuff and edit it because then it makes him want to just re-record it over and over again to make it a certain
That's
way.
super common.
And I said, it's okay. We all feel like that. And it's
Yeah.
so funny because yesterday I said something. I'm like, I'm a Virgo. This is just how I am. He goes, I'm a Virgo. I'm like, exactly why you're like wanting to edit and then redo and edit and redo. And yeah. So, But
I
I
felt
like
that
the
way when
way,
I was in middle school French and had to like listen to recordings of me speaking. And I was like, ooh, why do I sound like that? But now I'm really used to it, like 30, 40
right.
years later.
Yeah, I'm more used to it too, but there's sometimes I'm listening, I'm like, oh, I think that sounds like my mom or my sister. Like,
Oh,
what is
that's the
that?
worst. That's the worst. That's the worst.
So, for you guys, this process, what would make it easier? What would help you? Or is this a good way for you to practice?
I think I your outline was helpful in getting like the ideas out, but even you sharing like I didn't quite understand what you meant by the like what your audience would take away, like
Okay.
takeaways. And so it might be helpful to have the outline, but then also an example.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
maybe you do a PDF or something that basically is like, here was my outline. Here's how it shows up as a pitch,
Yep.
kind of thing. Because, you know, Amy's was really
Yeah.
personable. And I was like, oh my God, I sounded like I was doing a commercial. And that's not what I wanted to do either,
Right.
so it might be like
No,
how,
I like that. And it may be the takeaway is something else. Like, what will
Yeah.
they learn? It's more about what will they get from this topic you're talking about than a takeaway. And so that verbiage can be confusing, especially when it comes to podcasting.
well, because like,
Um,
You know what this reminds me of, Julie, is like a sizzle reel that like when
mm,
people are doing speaker stuff and they put together that sizzle reel. I don't have one because I don't, but I helped a friend of mine make hers when she wrote a book a couple of years ago. And it's a really smart idea, actually. It's like, so like there would be this, and then on that, like you have on your page, it's like you can see actual examples of me guesting as
mhm.
part of a, oh, that's such a good idea.
Yeah, and I haven't done it. I have taken because I do my own clip every time I host this. So I've always taken my clip and then put it on social or put it on YouTube as a short. But I can also take what I feel is the best one I've done and put it on my podcast guesting page because I do have
Yeah.
like topics I talk on and stuff like that. But I can say here, here a summary of what Julie talks about and have the clip embedded. But I could also give that to you guys before the event. I can write it out, but I can also like post in the Facebook group. Here's my, pitch from last time to get a sense of how you do it or what it sounds like or what I say. And I think sometimes people feel like they have to do it the same. Like if I give you an outline, oh, okay, so I just have to say this. No, no, no. You have to say these things, but in your voice, in your tone, in your wording. So no, but I do like that. It's like a podcast guest sizzle reel kind of.
I mean, I think that's really smart. So my friend whose name is Christina, she wrote a book. I'll tell you the punchline of the story and then I'll tell you what happened. The punchline is that she did this whole thing. She wrote this book. She thought she was like changing her business. And then she released the book and then decided she didn't actually want it. It was like a grief thing. And she was like, oh, I'm finished. And she went back to her other business. But anyway, she wrote this book and did all these things, and she thought she was going to do speaking on this topic for now and forever. And she was working with a coach, and they said you need to make a sizzle reel. You need to have the presentation, but it's a chicken and egg thing because she didn't have anybody hiring her to speak.
Yep.
So she took a meeting hall like in town, and she invited like 20 friends, and she did the presentation and recorded it as if it was a paid gig even though it was a setup. It was absolutely like just her and her friends. And then we did that and her thing for her sizzle reel. And I remember thinking about it at the time. I was like, I never would have thought to like stage this.
mhm.
I would have never thought that either.
But
That's
it's a
such a
brilliant
great
thing.
idea.
It
Because
is.
yeah, I often will look at something to apply to speak and they'll ask for like a video or a clip. I'm like, I don't have any
Well, I'm going to
because
film you at Podfest. So,
well, I do have stuff from Podfest last year, but I don't have like one where I'm
oh, the keynote. Yeah.
but most of this other speaking I've done is virtual. And so I don't really record myself. But but it's like you said, the chicken or the egg, which comes first? If you've never guested, you don't have an example to give, but you can't get that example without doing it the first time or the
So
first
yeah,
three times.
yeah. And
And that
she
is
hired
kind of
someone who gave her this. They were like, they just laid it out like, hey, this is how you do it. And so we were in a conference room of a library. And she just called up, I don't know how many people she called, but I was just one of those people. And she was like, hey, I'm going to do this and we're going to film it like it's like, and I was like, what?
right.
Brilliant.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I also think sometimes the language I use, people, that's what makes sense to me. And so even though I call it Pitch Fest, not everybody knows what that means. And so it could be I need to reword it or just reword the explanation of the event. But we could also do this in the community for speaking and give people practice with how to pitch yourself or I have thought about doing this, but I have never really set it up. Is, people who are guesting or speaking for the first time, they just need a place to do it the first time. So is
Mhm.
it me having a live and I'm here to interview you? You tell me what you want me to interview you about, and we'll go through the motions and you can see how that feels. Because I have met people who want to guest, but this idea of being interviewed to them is scary because they don't know what it is and they don't know how to prepare. And I also find podcast guesting is hard because just because you're prepared doesn't mean every podcast is going to be the same, right? And I have had people say, it's like, well, I want to be ready, but everybody does it differently. It's like, yeah, so you just have to be yourself and learn how to answer and share what you want to, no matter how they're asking you about it, right? So that's also kind of a game in the guesting part of it.
Well,
It is, but I think most people get to the point where they're ready for anything. I mean, Julie, don't you feel like you could be
Oh
interviewed
yeah.
by anybody and, work your way through it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's never been an issue for me, but I have met people who've never done it.
well, like,
I mean, there are definitely situations where I have not felt comfortable and I've been uncomfortable in the way things have been asked of me or what they're trying to get out of me. And I always prepare for guesting because you should. I just I don't prepare in terms of what I'm going to say because I know that it will come out depending on what they ask me. But you also do have to be comfortable on camera and, and if it's going to be live versus recorded versus whatever. And so I don't want to act like I can do anything because I can't. I actually have an interview later today that I'm like, I don't even know what I'm going to say. But
I have an interview tomorrow that was set up like 6 months ago. I don't even know. I have no idea what the topic is. I was like searching through my email this morning. I was like,
I know.
clueless, like absolutely clueless. I just like, all right.
Yeah.
well, and it's
Yeah.
different being a guest. Like, I've been a guest. I've set it up. I showed up. I show up great because I know what I'm talking. I know my topic. But to go, hey, pick me, like I,
Right.
you know, th- you know,
Well, yeah, the
topic
pitch is
is so
different than
hot.
the interview.
Like,
The
how do I narrow? Like, your outline was great, but I'm like, well, I can talk about a whole lot of things, and
right.
I was like, do I pick the specific ones that I have in my my topic list, or and then you were like more general like overview, and I'm like, oh well, for me,
Well, and
Oh yeah.
I was more general and vague, which may not be a good pitch for some. And so I think that's the other side of it is, especially with speaking, I think you have a signature topic or you have a certain, you know, or when you're applying to speak at a certain event, you know what the topic is, so you're pitching based on the conference topic and how you would fit into it, right? Podcast guesting is the same, but ultimately our pitch could be different for every single podcast we pitch to, right? Because we're
right.
Yeah.
pitching based on their podcast, how they do it, what it's about, what they want or are looking for. So if I did a pitch just about podcast guesting, I could do that 10 different ways from how to do it the first time, how to find the right ones, how to be a good guest and sharing. Like there's so many pieces in it and
Mhm.
so, yeah, I think that is the harder part when we do it like this in a 3 minutes. Is how specific or how vague are you? And what there's a like a balance, but there's not necessarily a right or wrong.
Well, and maybe you'll touch on this, right? If we're creating kind of a general pitch, right?
Mm,
Like my whole platform is, hey, do I need a VA? Right? I can go a thousand different ways, right? Like if I was to go on Amy's show, I would talk about the journey that I had to take before I hired my VA and all the lessons that I learned to get to that point and what I learned from it.
right.
That's a totally different pitch than the the nuts and bolts of, right?
Right.
Yeah. No, in
Create your
fact, people send
task.
me these beautifully well thought out, this is who I am, this is what I do things. And I have a canned response. It's like, here's my guesting form. Like I don't even look at them. I'm like, thank you for thinking of me. Here's how my process works because it's like it's just not at all like it's like people are like here's my story and I'm like that's totally not what I do and I'm here's how I
Right.
and I do it with a smile. I'm just like here you go that's like but it's like 10 times a day I'm like reply no I mean just like thank you.
Right. Oh, and that's something I've talked about, and I think it's really important for people to hear. It's like just if you, even if you, what we just said in our 3 minutes talking, you've written that out and it's great. You don't need to give all of that to them, especially if it's your first reach out. You
Yeah.
want to pick something. I heard you talk about this in your podcast. I loved it. I would love to talk about this. Not paragraph. I get those emails every day. I'm like, guys, you don't need to sell me on you being someone who could talk about something, right? I need you to reach out when you can see very easily and explain to me why you would be a good guest on my podcast. Because
Yeah.
often they haven't listened. They found your title or your description or something and thought, oh, I could do that. I might be a good guest for them. It's like, no, figure out how you would be and tell us that because I get so many of those DMs and emails. I get people now on LinkedIn friending me and then sending a message. I found your podcast and I would be a great guest, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, obviously you didn't listen because what you just said is not anything I talk about. Right. And so there's also that of wasting time. And so I think part of this process of doing this pitch fest and other things in the community is to help people realize don't waste your time or theirs because then you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, I don't get annoyed. But once now that I have the auto, like the pre-scripted thing that's just like, thank you for thinking of me. Here's how I do things. It doesn't actually bother me at all. But it did, and I like it did for a long time. I was like, why do they think? Why do they think that I want this? Like, what is it about? It's just so like, but now it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't bother me. And I think that some of them, that's that AI service Pod Pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard about that? Like those I feel like I can pick out. Like, this is an automated thing.
Yeah, I looked at Pod Pitch. First of all, it's super expensive. I would never pay
Super expensive.
$300 a month for podcast guesting pitches. But when I looked at it, it was that. But then also, there's another one that I'm not going to say it, but I did a trial of. And every request I got while I did the free trial of it was
Mhm.
them saying, we'd love to have you. It costs this much to be on our podcast. I was like, no. If I'm paying to be on a service, I'm not going to then pay to be on every podcast that reached out to me. And I was surprised by that. And so I just feel like there's so many podcasts you should not be paying it. You should, especially if you're just starting. And and I mean, there's reasons people ask you to pay. Some are good, some are not good. But it just, yeah, it's a vibe. It's like what feels right, and some of those just don't feel right to me. And you can pick them out when they're requesting you,
Yeah.
especially when someone reaches out on behalf of someone else. I'm
Oh yeah.
reaching out on behalf of Tony. He'd be a great guest on Podcast Your Story. And I'm like, first of all, Tony is not a good guest because I interview women podcasters. And also, I just don't like, I don't know about you guys. I don't like that vibe of someone reaching out on behalf of someone to explain to you why they're great and you should be a guest. Because my question
I
then
actually
is,
just added it into my form. I'm like, am I applying for myself or on behalf of somebody else? Because I now have agents. I did so many shows this past year that I have agents, booking agents that like do it in mass for like their clients, like automatically.
Yeah.
And so like, and it's like, okay. And I don't actually, it doesn't bother me unless but the person shows up and they don't actually know what they're doing on the show because I ask people to tell personal stories. And if they think they're
Right.
showing up to do the How I Built My Business speech, then I'm like, oh, yeah, that's not what you're doing. And
Well,
so, yeah,
I think that is what those emails bother me about
yeah,
is they could be a great guest and a great fit, but my initial instinct is to say, this is great. Do they know you're pitching them to this podcast and do have
right.
they listened to my podcast and that, right? And so sometimes it's I'm anticipating that being an issue.
Yeah,
And
100%. I have learned recently though, like some of the people, so because like some of the agents are very good at promoting the episode when it comes out, which is kind of awesome actually. Most of them
right.
are not, but there's one that's she's got my number. She's figured out like what my show was about and who's a good fit. So, and I just it's like I realized I was like, oh, this is a second time I've CC'd this person. So and I was like, she has figured it out because now that I say, if you're not pitching for yourself, I need the actual guest's contact information or I won't, move forward.
Oh, I like
Um,
that.
it makes a lousy conversation. It
Yep.
was a little glitchy for me to figure out how I wanted to do it because I will tell you, because like but it was like I get such a high volume now that I needed a way to do it. But I talked to a lady yesterday and I was like, hey, how did we connect? How did you find me? And she was like, oh, I'm working with Colleen something something, a PR agent. And she's like, and she has told all of her clients about your show. And I was
Mhm.
like, I feel very famous. I was like, I don't know who this person is, this wonderful person, but
Right.
thank you very much.
Well, I think that is important for hosts to hear too, because one of the things I have, especially with my pet podcast, because it's been out long enough and,
Yeah.
and so I get a lot of publishing companies, PR companies for authors reaching out. So and so has this book about animals in some way, and they'd be a great fit. But a lot of them just want to come on and promote their book. They're not necessarily the right guest for me because I always ask, well, do they promote animal rescue? Do they have a organization they can share? Well, no, not really. Okay, then they're not a good fit. Like that's the net. But I didn't when people started doing that, I felt famous. Like, oh my God,
Yeah.
you're a publishing company and you want somebody to come on, like that. So I did a few, and some of them were great. We had great conversations. There was one that was so bad,
Oh, I
and
had one guy who wanted to read his book on the show. And I was like, no. I was like, people can buy the book.
right, or
Like,
do
that
an
is not going to
audiobook.
be interesting.
Yeah,
I was
but I
like,
had one. The other thing I often say to hosts is just realize that just because they're an author doesn't mean they're a good speaker or a good interviewee, right?
very true.
Author is one thing, be speaking and being a guest is another thing. And so I have found that, and that's not true of everyone, but there was one of the authors that I didn't know, and I could tell she definitely had not listened to my podcast, and she was just there to sell her book. And it was just not a good interview. I was pulling it out of her. She said things I'm like, why would you say that? So yeah, it is like this. Yeah.
It is so funny, especially when they're in the middle of their like book launch and they're doing like 4 or 5 interviews a day and every single conversation is the same. That's when I was like, oh, please don't pitch me any more book tour interviews.
Right.
Although, like you say, there are some people who can have a super legit conversation and it's awesome. And they're like, oh, yeah, and by the way, I have this book. Please go
Right.
buy it. I think those are better conversations anyway, but that's just my
Well, and I
opinion.
also think it's maybe like the authors all need some coaching on like how to be a good guest and not just sound like they're selling their book.
Well, like I'm trying to guess because I have the book, but I'm
Hmm.
not pitching the book.
Yeah,
Like
I think that's the way
I'm
to do
just
it.
drawing
Yeah.
attention to like, and I'll even ask the host, like, can I mention the book
Hmm.
or my podcast? Because it's a resource, but I'm not going in with and that's just me as like I'm
But
not
that's
doing it because my publisher is like, you gotta go on 1400, things.
well,
But like
and there's two things I'm going to say. One is, Amy, you're right that when people are reaching out to us for somebody to be on because they have a book coming out or it just came out, you also want to ask yourself, well, how many other podcasts are they coming on to say the same thing, right? So you don't want to be one of five or one of 10 that all like. I love Michelle Obama, and her book came out, and she was on almost every podcast within like a
In 10
month.
days.
And it was
Yeah.
like, I saw one or I listened to part of one. No, I'm not going to go listen to the other ones because, I'm sure there's something that's different, but it's the same idea. We don't want to be the same thing that how many other podcasts are doing. But also, that's a really good point, Rachel, because if you are an author or promoting an author, don't lead with the book. Lead with who they are, what they can share, and as a part of that, they would love to share their new book. And I think that is what triggers me in the emails sometimes is they're just so much about a book coming out, a book coming out. It's like, great, but I'm not a podcast about book coming out. Like that's not what.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
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 Well, our time is almost up, so we can chat for more, but I just wanted to I also do this. I need to get some more people into it, but I created a spreadsheet that every month I update. Amy, your podcast is on the spreadsheet.
Yay. Because you sent me a thing. You were like, host. And I was like, that's
Yep.
me.
So this is an ongoing list of not only people in our membership community, but also other people like from my networking groups and people I know that when I see them asking for guests, I say, jump on my list. And so not only is it like the guest form and what kind of topics, it's the host's name, it's their contact info, it's listen or watch the podcast. So if you want to be added or you know someone who might want to be, just let me know and I'll send them. It's just a Google form that I kind of update every month before this event.
Do you want us to be able to add to this, or do we send you the information for it?
For your podcast or for somebody else?
My, well,
Okay.
so, is it for only people accepting guests?
Um, yes, because I don't want to put people on there just for them to listen. It really isn't a like sharing podcast list. It's a list for people who are actively looking or will be looking. Some of them were at the end of last year. They weren't that day, but they knew in January they were going to start booking people.
So,
So,
question on it, because like my Hey, Do I Need a VA podcast, we are looking for guests, but we're really super specific. Like, I want guests to be, um, our audience is overwhelmed business owners looking to find a VA and what they need to know. So it's what VAs want business owners to know when they're looking to find, hire, and work with a virtual assistant. So our guests are, um, like we're looking for people that get lumped into the VA industry, but offer
right,
support that I would consider like more specialists than, um, right, like than VAs.
right.
Like,
Yeah. And so in the form, and you'll see it if you scroll over in the spreadsheet, I actually ask the host to say, what are they looking for in guests? What topics are they interested in? Any other info you want to ask? Or so that's where you be really specific and say, these are the very specific things we're looking for. If you are not this, please don't fill it out. And so I added those. So it's like not just a generic list of here's a podcast, go fill out the form. No, look at what they're actually looking for. Are you a good fit? Then, contact them or click the link. But if you know anybody else who is a podcaster and is looking and would want to be promoted, I that link to the form, that form can be shared with anybody. I'm just not sharing the list of podcasts with everyone. That's a in the community membership thing. I mean, obviously some of you promote looking for guests anyway, but it's anybody can be added to the list that they're looking for guests, but it's if you're in the membership and a part of, this event that you get the list.
okay.
So,
It's fantastic.
Thank
A great resource.
thank you. And hopefully I will get more people on. I haven't spent a lot of time adding to it, but I will be doing more of that just so because the membership has a wide variety of people in it and what you guys do and what you talk about. So we'll start building that up a little bit more.
I saw something a couple months ago. I think it was Alex Sanfilippo because he's the only one who posts stuff like this publicly, really, that I see. And he would have a good reference. But I think he estimated that there were 500 people looking to guest for every show that takes guests.
Oh my God.
which is why those forums like find a guest and stuff like that feel just like it's like a, you know, you're just
Yeah.
onslaught. You make one post and it's like 200 people are like, I want to come talk about my thumbs, you know?
Yeah. And I think I love Podmatch because I have no big expectation that every person I message is going to get back to me. And one of the things I like about Match is in the profile, it says this person has a low accept rate, or it typically responds within 2 weeks or a month. Like they're giving you the expectation of no, they're not going to respond to you tomorrow. And they only take like 10% of the people that message them. Right. And so I like that. I want to know that ahead of time because I don't want to be, I think some people think, and I will also say this in this recording, if anybody's actually listening to it, please don't, as a guest, send a cold email to a host pitching yourself and how great you are that you do not know. And if they don't respond to you, you see it, send a second one, circling
Oh yeah.
back, bring it to the top. No, those I automatically delete because I personally find that offensive. And people are doing that now with trying to get me to like, I'll be your podcast promoter. I'll be your YouTube strategist.
Oh my God.
Okay,
The YouTube strategy guys, like, God bless them. Like, does it work? Like, is anybody
that's what
hiring
I
these
want to
guys?
know. Can you show me your
like,
data
like,
that however many thousands of these you send that you actually get a client out of them? And the other side of that is I also don't respond well to your first sentence be telling me what's wrong with my podcast or what's wrong
right.
with my YouTube channel. It's like that's not going
And
to work
also,
either.
it's like, they like send me the vidIQ stats and I never reply. I just delete them en masse. But I'm like,
Right,
I also have vidIQ. Like it's so insulting that you were like taking the screenshot and highlighting all the things that are the problems of the vidIQ thing. I'm like, is this working for anybody? Listen, Ahmed, Mohammed, Ismail, name with no vowels, like
right.
like that emails me 10 times a day. And they're brutal with their follow up. It's like
Uh-huh.
they can get aggressive. And sometimes I'm like, oh
Yep.
man, I've
They
never
can get aggressive
replied to
in
you.
email and DMs. And I'm just like, I just, I guess my personality would never reach out to someone that way. So I just have a very negative response to it. And even if somebody is a genuine connection and wants to connect for a good reason, replying and reapply, sending and sending, like that doesn't feel good to me. And especially on social, it's like, guys, we're not all checking all the places all the time. So if I don't respond there, maybe try to reach out to me somewhere else. Like
It is, I mean,
LinkedIn has
it is
gotten
so
very
funny.
spammy and selly, and it drives me crazy. So
Yeah, I
enough of
do
that
think I wonder
soapbox.
whether or not like where the VAs like Rachel, the VAs were in the Philippines for such a long time. I don't know if that's still the place. I wonder if there's like because there's a definite like there seems like there's an ethnicity of people who are reaching out to me for YouTube. I wonder if there's like a
Hmm.
country.
Well, the companies that they're hiring or like that they're working for, it's Philippines, India, South America. Um,
These, I'm not getting any Spanish speakers. I think they like so, but but I am surprised that they get snarky when I don't reply. I'm like, I didn't, what about me not replying the first five message makes you think that you being nasty is
Well,
going to be better?
but also I think
as a
that
VA, I have replied and I'm like, thank you, we're interested, and then nothing. So I'm like, it works both
Oh,
ways, right? Like if it's a bot or
right.
they're just
That's
sending
the other
out,
side of it. How much of it are not even real people?
because like I got one for a client of mine. I got the same podcast, two different people sending it, and neither of them replied.
love that. That is hilarious.
And
That
Well,
is
and
I hear you
hilarious.
guys, and I'm like, oh God, I was that person. Sorry, Julie, because
well,
like
no,
for
but
my coach, I was trying to get him on podcast because he had a book, and you know,
Yeah.
I was the circle back, and I'm like, oh God, I was the problem.
I actually don't
well,
mind. I don't, I sometimes, because I have such an active process that pe if people circle back and they're like, hey, can you make sure that my form went through? Because
yeah, and I
like,
will
I actually
say,
don't mind that. Let me check
right.
because
And I
like,
will say I'm not anti all circle backs. It's just the ones that are blatantly no one I know. They're telling me what I'm doing wrong. I want
Oh yeah, no,
you should hire me, and then I don't respond and I don't respond. That is it's like, guys, you're already being pushy and now you're basically acting like, yeah.
Remember that movie
we
that was
have
like,
to
he's not
circle
that
back.
into you? Like, it was like,
Yes.
it's like the dating thing. That's my attitude with YouTube guys.
Oh,
It's like, I just want to be like,
right.
dude,
Or
there's a
it's like,
disconnect here. I'm not that into you.
sorry, it's not me, it's you. It's not me, it's you, right? But also like what you were saying, Amy, it's like especially the VAs or the promoters and the YouTube people, like how much of them all work for a company and the company like gives them a form letter to send out to everyone. Like
They
that's what I
do
feel like
feel like they're
too.
very the same.
Like
But I will
this
give
is
you
the
this.
cover letter.
It's like, I was like, when they first started coming in, I was like, oh, well, at least it's working. Like the show, the channel is
Right.
on. Thank you. You know, and then I was asking people, I'm like, what do I do with these rando comments? Because they are following a formula. They go in, they subscribe to the channel, they like the video, they leave a comment. Like,
Hmm.
your content is so thorough and excellent.
I know.
I don't know what
Oh
to
my
do with
God.
those comments. I'm like, is it good for the algorithm? Like, I don't know. Like, what I don't like,
I don't
you
know either.
know.
I'm starting to get a lot of that on like LinkedIn, where it's obvious people who have tried to connect with me who are like promoters of some kind that want me to hire them, but then they start liking and commenting on every post. It's like I sometimes go and delete them because I'm like, I don't even want this here. Like, you
Yeah.
aren't my people. That's not what this, or their comment is like, it's on topic, but it's slightly off. Like, there's just one word that doesn't make sense. Like, I get that sometimes. I'm like,
And
why did
I
you
do
say
love it when you get the wrong
initiative?
name, right? I love it
Oh
when you
my
get
God.
the message that's the wrong name and it's like, Sarah, your show is so good. And I'm like,
Ugh.
thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. I had one email
My name is
recently
Amy.
that was pitching someone to be on my podcast, but in the email, they had the wrong podcast name. So
Mm.
obviously it was copy paste, but they updated my name, but they didn't update the podcast name. So I literally replied, "Thank you, but I do not have a podcast called whatever this is."
So I mean, I have a lot of sense because I do cut and paste with so many things. I really have a soft spot for the typo. Like, I'm like, I
Right.
have a big
But
threshold
it's
for
just, it
forgiving.
was
Like,
it
but
was
it
one
is
of those
funny.
where
It
like
is
maybe
funny.
make sure you're sending it to the right person first.
It's
Oh, I
so
copy
funny.
and paste stuff all the time, like especially DMs. I'm like,
Thank you.
sorry.
I gotta run. Put in
Yeah,
the
no, we ran over.
Hi.
Great to
Thank you
see
for
you
coming.
guys. Have a wonderful afternoon. I'm going to go be IT support for my house now.